sport channels. Sadly, it won't be. Arsenal, because I guess, as Martin says, Farah, the Sporting goalkeeper, 35-year-old Adan, was man of the match, really, across both extra time and then clear in the shootout.
Yeah, he was phenomenal today. I think over the two legs as well. So, yeah, 120 minutes tonight, but over the two legs, I thought he was fantastic and certainly made a difference in this Sporting team. And I think it gives your team confidence when you know you've got a goalkeeper like that. This is a big save.
Yeah.
You know, the timing of it, just in extra time, big hand he gets on it and it comes off the post. And you earn your luck sometimes as a goalkeeper. And I think he did that, you know, over the two legs. But that hand, that save, he kept himself big. He stayed as big as he could for as long as he could. And I think it was a great hand and a really good save. This is a phenomenal save. The hand, the power that he generates behind the hand, to just palm it away from any sort of danger, it's a fantastic save. And it keeps him in the game. That, you know, when another day goes in the back of the net. And then the match-winning penalty save, not convincing for Martinelli, but a really good save and sees his team through.
I think he's clever there because he leaves kind of less of the goal to the left, doesn't he? And then he just sucks him in to go in that side. But, yeah, he makes two good saves. I thought actually the reflex save, I thought it was quite a long way over. And obviously just gambled that it was going to go to the right-hand side. But, no, he played a major part in them winning here tonight.
He did. Credit to their coach. They obviously came with a game plan to stifle Arsenal, which at periods they did. They played on the break into those channels and created their own moments of danger. So, credit to Amorim, really.
Yeah, I thought the tactics were spot on. I thought they caused this Arsenal team problems. I think problems that we haven't seen Arsenal have to deal with this season. I think they did it really well. We spoke before the game, the positioning of Edwards, and could he cause Zinchenko problems along with Gabriel? And I felt like he did that at times, and that was going to be the way they were going to get in. They ended up scoring a phenomenal goal just inside the half. But, yeah, we did expect the problems to come down that left-hand side, the right-hand side, so Arsenal's left. And I think they did for the majority of the game.
Yeah. At times, it looked like they were a team that could get to the edge of your box, maybe didn't have the cutting edge. So they obviously recognised that and thought, well, we'll just shoot from 50 yards. That's the way to solve that problem.
Well, that's right. And they had 14 shots and only 2 on target. But one of them was enough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is... I said, actually, earlier that I wondered if this was some sort of practice behaviour because have they looked at the goalkeeper, because he does take a high line, as most goalkeepers do these days, because he's onto it in a flash, and he doesn't even look up. He knows where the keeper is, but the execution is amazing.
He
to
has
get that
glance,
up and down.
Doesn't he? You see, just before he strikes, just before the execution, he has a slight glance where he sees the keeper off the line, but to execute that technique, the backspin to keep it down just inside. It's fractions. It's honestly, you can watch that over and over again, and it just gets better.
Well,
but
you could, but I can't. It
hurts. But I think Arsenal was so loose in possession for an Arsenal team that we've come to recognise as a team that likes to dominate possession. I felt they were loose with possession over the two legs. Today we've seen it, you know, a Sporting team come here and dominate possession, which we haven't seen all season.
It almost seems, doesn't it? It's just like a game too many, a round too many for Arsenal. It's a team or a club that's rebuilding. They weren't even in Europe last year. And every year you're in Europe, you build lots of players. The Champions League hopefully comes for Arsenal again. They can invest. 2 casualties tonight early on. Then that made it more difficult for the manager. Ødegaard came on quite late, probably wanted to get him on a bit earlier, but he couldn't because his hands were tied. All the substitutes were being used. So maybe it's a blessing that they've gone out of a tournament. I don't like saying that, but the Premier League is looming so large and there's such a big effort that now they can go wholeheartedly after that and not have to worry about playing deep into a Thursday night. You know, Palace are sitting looking at Arsenal now, big game at the weekend. You know, they're kind of like, it's a casualty ward of injuries, isn't it? And trying to get them back. But I'm pretty certain this manager will get the players focused and back on blob, ready for Sunday.
Well, he'll need to. They did that last week, didn't they? After he wasn't happy with the performance in Lisbon, but they went to Fulham and got that job done in short order. So they've shown they can turn around Thursday to Sunday and tick off a Premier League game. And Crystal Palace haven't been in great form, so there's a chance to bounce back on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they have to. They have to come away from tonight. They have to regroup quickly because, as you say, they've got the game on Sunday against Crystal Palace, who aren't in the form that they started the season with. So it is a game that Arsenal will be expected to win. But certainly this would have hurted that group of players tonight, going out of a game that they probably, as a collective, because, you know, they do have a better squad now to compete on all, you know, in all competitions. So they'll be disappointed tonight that they've gone out at home as well. So they will have to regroup and bounce back on Sunday against Crystal Palace.
A better squad, an improving squad, but he perhaps is finding out that his first 13, 15 are stronger than what, or more regular rhythm with each other than those that drop in.
Yeah, but it'll give players time. Vieira came in tonight, and you saw, didn't you, that it step up in class when Ødegaard came on the pitch. There's very definitely a difference there. Yeah. But we have to give Vieira an opportunity and time, and more game time on the field, which will come for him. And that's a shame that you've gone out of the competition. But when you look overall how much it's impacting on the group, all of these games, the first game there was, a number of changes going into that game. I think 6 changes going into that game. It was a case of trying to manage the situation of giving the right minutes for each player, and the players then managing their energy levels. And I think there was a little bit of that again tonight. They went for it in the end, don't worry. Yeah. They just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, they did. They looked the dominant side in extra time. They obviously wanted to get the job done if they could. They came on strong, but not quite enough.
Yeah, I think they did in extra time, but I do think we have to give credit to Sporting because I actually think their game plan, their tactics were difficult and would have been difficult for any team to come up against. I think they really disjointed the Arsenal backline. Zinchenko at times, his positioning, then forced errors within Gabriel's positioning. We saw Holding give away a half chance, with his positioning going in with a striker. So I think the way in which they set up was difficult to defend against, and I think it caused Arsenal problems.
They went 22 games earlier in the season unbeaten. This is a team that, expects to win, and there's a huge belief. It's different. I know they've slipped a little bit in their own league, but nonetheless, coming into this game, I think undefeated in seven matches. So they're in decent form. And you could see it in their eyes. The manager before the game was saying, "Look, let's get this on. Let's have it." They were ready to create an upset tonight, and they've done that.
Is there anything in the psychology of what's gone on this week? We saw how dominant Manchester City produced against Leipzig on Tuesday. They'll be watching on. They'll be well aware of what's gone on here tonight. Is there anything in any of that as far as the Premier League is concerned?
I think Man City, being the team they are, they're focusing on themselves. Haaland was an incredible message, wasn't it, a couple of nights ago, that they're in top form. Arsenal would have wanted to respond to that, of course. Yeah. The manager put out a strong enough team to win this game, but it affects the rhythm. And Arsenal are about passing, about rhythm, interchange of movement, and I think it upsets their balance. Man City were able to pick up pretty well their full team, weren't they, the other evening to go after they didn't play in Europe the week before. It's been a nicer timetable for them. And I think that's affected Arsenal. And Thursday night football, whatever people say, having gone through the experience myself, it's late in the week and it affects you come the weekend.
Really?
I sincerely believe that. People say, OK, it's the same number of hours, but there's something about that game later in the week. I think next season, when Arsenal get into the Champions League, I think they'll be a lot happier having those extra couple of days to look through to the weekend. A play on a Saturday, the whole thing becomes a little bit disjointed.
I think that the City's squad depth, you look at if they was to rotate their team, is a lot stronger than Arsenal's changes. So we spoke about a second-string Arsenal team that we've pretty much seen in Europe is weaker than a Manchester City second-string team. So they're able to rotate and keep their players probably a little bit more fresher. We've seen Arsenal in the Premier League pretty much not change that starting 11. And as the season goes on and the number of games, it becomes more difficult.
We've had 10 years, though, of Man City qualifying for the Champions League. And year on year, the extra revenue that brings, you bring a top player in every year. Every two players, Arsenal not being able to do that. There's been a wholesale changes to the squad. And this is like rebuilding, reaching out now, trying to hang on to Man City. So, it was not going to be an upward curve all the way. And maybe that we shouldn't be that surprised that they've fallen foul of what they were trying to do tonight, which was to get through to the next round. Yeah,
well, Mikel Arteta's talked about phases, hasn't he, that he's trying to build the club towards, and maybe they're ahead of schedule, and maybe this is an example of where it's just caught up with them a little bit. If you look at the games that have come, what they have got now is a clear run at those Premier League games. They do get training ground time, recovery time, planning time that they've perhaps, as you say, lacked for in the last few weeks.
And in the Premier League, they're 15 points better off from this time last season. So there's been a massive improvement in their performances and results.
Let's get downstairs, get some reaction. I think Martin Ødegaard, the skipper, is with Jeff Brazier.
Martin, was that a game you did enough to win tonight?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we did enough in some periods of the game, but most of the game we weren't on the level we should be. So I think part of the game we did well, but throughout the whole game we didn't play our best football. So yeah, it was a tight game in the end, so could have gone both ways.
You give any credit to the opponents? Obviously, they've come here. Not many teams have beat you at the Emirates today, but it's an audacious lob. It's an inspired goalkeeping performance as well. How hard did they make it for you?
Yeah, they're a good team. We knew that. We knew their qualities, and we were prepared. So, but I think it was more about us today. We didn't play the way we normally do, and we didn't, put in the energy maybe we normally do. So that's disappointing. But now we have to look forward and just get ready for Sunday. That's all now.
How do you ensure that this doesn't derail your title efforts? Because it's a huge disappointment. How do you pick yourselves up again?
No, we have to remember it's been a great season. We've done amazing things this year, and it's of course it's a big blow to go out of this competition. It was a big goal for us, but we have to look forward now. We have to look for Sunday. Just come back strong and make sure we finish well in the league. That's the only thing we can do now.
Gabriel Martinelli having a great season. Obviously, to step up and take a penalty is always the chance that you might miss. What do the team need to do to get around him and make sure that he feels like he's not forgiven, but he can move on from that?
No, we win and lose together. Doesn't matter. Everyone, when we're winning, everyone is happy. You know, when we lose, we have to pick up the spirit and keep going. You know, we win and lose together. That's all. So, yeah, nothing more.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.